Story time, everybody. And let me tell you one thing that I am absolutely sure about, and that is American football. American football is king. It is the undisputed heavyweight champion of of America. Let's put it that way. American football is king. It is untouchable. It's an untouchable American product. Now, how do I know this? Well, let me talk about it real quick. See, with this whole 2020 year, this whole mess of a year with COVID-19 and all the horrible politics and everything that's going on, I mean, people are low. You know, people are... The world hasn't felt this much anxiety since I don't know when. A human being can take a lot. They can get dragged through the mud and back. And that's what's happening today in this world right now. You know? People have been out of work. They lost their jobs. They were out of the job for a long time. Debt is skyrocketing like crazy. You know, people can't do anything normal. You got to wear a mask everywhere you go. Depression is at an all-time high. You know, the suicide rates is at an all-time high. This year has been horrible, catastrophic. Divorce rates are at an all-time high. You know, I mean, honestly, you can go look it up for yourself. It's sad, you know, and because of this virus, and it's not only the virus, it's the politics and everything. But the story I want to tell you guys today is how football, American football, is an untouchable product of the American environment. You want to know how I know that? You know, with everyone's politics going all crazy right now, and everybody's economic standards and political standards, and you know, a human being can think and feel different ways, right? Well, football is something that brings community together. It brings enjoyment. It brings normalcy to people. You know, I mean, that's American football is by far the most popular sport. You know, the NFL, it is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and they have the highest ratings. Everybody watches football, everybody talks about football, everybody knows football. It doesn't matter what gender you are or what age you are. It is America. It is as American as you can get. And when you start messing with football, then you really are going to start pissing people off. And that's just the flat out truth. And that's what happened here in Colorado. I'm not even joking to you guys. So, like maybe a week and a half ago, today is, what is today? It's like September 21st. I think the first day of fall. So today is September 21st. So like a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, the administration, the association that runs all of Colorado high school sports, right? They're the association they're the governing body of all the sporting events within high school, within the state of Colorado. It's called CHSAA, C-H-S-A-A, Colorado High School Athletic Association. weeks ago, CHSA the board unanimously voted, however many people are on the board, whether it's 12, 15, 20, I don't know, but they unanimously voted to not have high school football in the state of Colorado this fall year. So they canceled the entire high school football season throughout the state. Now, I remember when they did that, because I got off work and I was listening to a radio program on my way home. This guy, his name is Dave Logan. He's the Denver Broncos radio announcer. He's been doing that for years and decades. You know, he's been doing it for a long time. He's a huge public figure within the state of Colorado. And on his radio program, when CHSA announced that they were canceling high school football throughout the state of Colorado, he went off. It's funny. You should try to look it up. It's probably on YouTube. It's definitely somewhere on the internet. But he went off on his radio program. He brought his normal voice, which is like a 3 or 4, all the way up to a 10, and he was freaking out. And he interviewed a bunch of people. I think he even interviewed, you know, some school administrators, some politicians, I don't even know, but he went off. And he was like, this is unfair, this is not right, yada, 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 right? So canceling football throughout the state of Colorado, well, people protested. You know, parents, players, friends, family members, everybody. You know, within 3 days, everyone is wreaking havoc because CHSA canceled football. CHSA canceled football throughout the state of Colorado. And, you know, people were protesting in front of the governor's building in every, you know, pretty big city within Colorado. You know, there was protests everywhere. Well, guess what happened? Our governor, Jared Polis, you know, obviously this is going to make him look bad, right? And he's not up for re-election this year, but he is up for re-election in 2 years, right? His poll numbers are already going down because he had this stupid law where, you know, like a few months ago, you couldn't order alcohol. You know, they barely just opened the restaurants, right? And the restaurant industry has been tanking like crazy throughout the country, especially here in Colorado, right? So, I mean, those businesses are hurting. Well, when they did open the restaurants, you know, their sales were still down. They were like doing normally like 20% of what they normally do. And so one of the things that was bringing back people into the restaurants was to go and have some alcohol beverages at their favorite bar, or at their favorite restaurant. Well, Jared Polis, Colorado's governor, wrote an emergency law saying, you know, bars and restaurants cannot serve alcohol past, I believe it was 8 p.m. 8 p.m., right? Well, then everyone was freaking out about that, you know, because people, all the sports were coming back. The NBA was back, the Major League Baseball was back, you know, hockey was going into the playoffs, and you know, all those games were late at night, and people like going to the bars, you know, at like 9 o'clock at night, having a couple drinks, watching the game, hanging out with their buddies. You know, people want to go back to normal, you know, with this whole COVID-19 thing. And so he made that stupid law where restaurants and bars cannot serve alcohol past 8 p.m. and people were freaking out. You know, a bunch of bars and restaurants created this association, and they sued, you know, the governing body of Colorado because of it. And I don't know if that legal thing is going on still or not, or what happened. But a few weeks after that, he changed it to like 10 p.m. Jared Polis then did a bunch of stupid other laws with this whole COVID-19. I know he's trying to protect the community, but I mean, what are you gonna do? The point being is his poll numbers were sliding, and he wasn't looking too good because he was taking all these crazy drastic measures to you know, to prevent COVID-19, which is fine, but you know, you can only go so far with the public, you know, or the public's gonna retaliate. So then when football came back in the fall a few weeks ago, high school football, you know, which is huge out here in Colorado, you know, it's really big, it's really popular. So when football came back and CHSAA made that announcement where they're not going to allow high school football this fall, oh boy, man, it set off some serious tempers. People were freaking out. So what happened, man? Bam, Jared Polis came out with a statement saying, I sure hope that football happens this fall. And I think he personally called CHSAA. They had a big meeting with the CHSAA governing bodies, who, you know, the lead director and I'm sure a few other people. And it was like 4 days after they first unanimously voted to cancel fall football. They're like, oh, okay, we'll allow we'll allow high school football to be played this fall. And then they subcategorized it where you can either play this fall if you wanted to as a school, or you can play in the spring, you know, whatever, you know. But it was such a drastic decision, and it was so quick when you got guys like Dave Logan, who was the face, not the face of the Broncos, but the voice of the Broncos. And you got people, large community members within the state of Colorado, freaking out over this decision where Jared Polis, because of high school football and because of the cancellation, he had to make an emergency meeting with CHSAA to reinstate football back within Colorado so the high schoolers could play this fall. And then they re-voted it. It was crazy. It was a whirlwind, and it was all over the news, at least within the state of Colorado, you know? So they brought back football. And I think had Jared Polis not done that, he probably would have lost his job in 2 years. I mean, that's how important this is. And it's just wild to me. I was just reading all these articles and everything that was going down. And it just goes to show you how important football really is to the community, to the nation. The same thing's happening in college football. You know, like look at the Big Ten. The Big Ten was possibly going to cancel their entire season. Well, you know, schools like Michigan, schools like Ohio State, Wisconsin, Iowa, all those big Big Ten schools we're not playing football. And then you got teams like Notre Dame and Clemson, they were all playing football. And so people were freaking out about that. And so they had to call an emergency and vote to whether they wanted to play or not. And it was just a whirlwind of mess, you know. And the Big Ten is now going to play, you know. They're going to play college football. And then when the whole NFL thing was happening, you know, I mean, people, like I said in the beginning of this video, you know, they have lost their jobs. They are depressed. They are going through serious stuff. This is a serious time in our lives, and it's sad and it's unfortunate. But then, you know, you can only drag a person so far. But then when you start messing with football, oh, then that's when it can get real ugly, and that's when the public will come out large, because that's something that holds communities together. That's how important football is to this nation. And it's wild. You know, whether you like football or not, whether you enjoy the game or not, you know deep down in your heart how important that sport is to this country. And when you start messing with it, when you start messing with high schoolers and college and parents and coaches and athletic associations and just communities at large, then you're going to feel the whirlwind of the public. It's the truth. It's the truth. You know, you can fire someone, they'll move on. You can take their money, they'll try to figure it out. When you start affecting kids, and when you start affecting just football in general and things like that, then that's when you can get in trouble. You know, so Jared Polis had, as the governor, had to he basically probably forced CHSA to redo that vote. And it's wild. And it just goes to show you how important football is to this country. How one sport, one simple sport, what it can do to help bring back normalcy to this world. You know? That's why I said in the beginning that football is king. It is something that you can't touch. You cannot touch football. It is as important as, it might even be more important than politics and economics, you know? It's as important as religion to some people. That's how important it is. So I just wanted to get that off my chest and just tell you guys, you know, I mean, look into this story, look into your community. I don't know what state you guys live in or even what country, but you know, at least here in Colorado, it was a big story. And I'm telling you, if you have the chance to Google, his name is Dave Logan, D-A-V-E-L-O-G-A-N. His name is Dave Logan. He's the radio voice of the Denver Broncos. He has been for a long time. And it was one of the coolest radio shows that I've listened to in a long time. And so I just wanted to talk about that, you know. And then when things like, I'm not going to talk about politics, you know, but when something like this, as simple as a sport as American football really is, it shows you how much it really means to the community, you know, how much it really means to the community. So there's my little rant for you guys. You know, this whole year is just crazy, and I hope everyone is just being safe, guys, you know. And you know, the world might look bleak and dark and dim sometimes, especially right now, but just keep maintaining that positive attitude and just keep grinding away. That's all you can do, right? I mean, the community will speak for itself, and it's just a simple story about high school football. It doesn't have a whole lot of meaning to the greater world, right? But it's an important story, and it just shows you what things like a simple sport of football, how protective people are of something like that. And so yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. You know, it's just wild. You know, maybe real quick, maybe football or sports in general or something on that type of platform can help bring back, you know, our communities together. You know, it just goes to show you how important football and sports and community, that's what it is. It's a community thing, you know. You know, football is just a sport, but the community attaches themselves to that sport, and it makes it important, very important. So yeah, guys, basically that's all I wanted to say. Look into the story, look into that Dave Logan rant. Hopefully it's on YouTube. I haven't even checked. I just wanted to go out for a bike ride and talk about some football. So I hope you enjoy. Stay safe. I love all you guys, and we'll see you next time.